Okay.
I'm here.
All right, this will take a few minutes here, so just everybody bear with us.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Steve.
So,
Okay. Okay, I see Bill, Tim, Jeremy, Tammy. Okay. Okay, I need a motion to go into our regular board meeting, please.
I move that we go into our regular board meeting.
support.
There's a motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Spencer to reopen the regular December 13th board meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes. Okay, we are in our regular board meeting. I'm just going to start. I apologize to everybody that was logged in earlier. We did not, it's our first time doing a closed session since Zoom changed and had a pre-recorded button that we couldn't alter. So we had to improvise a little bit. So I apologize. When I left the meeting, I thought I could leave somebody as host. I thought I could leave somebody as host and not boot everybody out, but unfortunately it did not let me do that. So it was nothing that Todd did incorrectly. It was just again, a Zoom glitch. So crucify me as you will. That's what happened. So that being said, we are now in our regular meeting. There is no action from the closed session. We will be delaying. We had two matters for closed session. We are only going to be discussing the one which we did, the purchase of real property. Now moving on our agenda, we are at agenda additions. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just clarify. The second part of that closed session we will be scheduling a special meeting for at a later date. So. Okay, let me just see. Got a couple phone numbers here that are got some background noise here.
and who is the motion in support for back to the meeting?
Mr. Cummings made the motion. Mr. Spencer was the support.
I turn my off.
Okay, who's 7071? I'm gonna mute. And bottom line, you can unmute yourself anyways, but just because I got some background noise, I muted anybody that I did not think was a township board member. Okay, so that being said, we are now at agenda additions on the meeting. Do we have any agenda additions this evening? I know we have one because Josh emailed it.
Yes, I do have one addition that will be added to other number 12, which is the pay application number 5 for Caterman Trucking.
Okay, application number 5.
Yes.
Okay, do we have any others?
Yeah, and I'd like to add a topic. It's just a discussion topic. Find out about the McTV and the Shoreline Players contract status.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll put that under number 13.
That'd be fine. Thank you.
And we schedule a special meeting to take up the other closed session item. Can we schedule a meeting tonight for that?
Yeah, we'll put that on the agenda for number 13. I'm 14.
And under project and project updates, is Doug Moen or Kath on the meeting tonight?
No. I don't think so. For what?
The water loss update, citizen, well, I guess, I don't know, if I'll just, a citizen notified me of 2 leaks out by the hangars. And I was wondering what the status was of getting those water leaks fixed, because there's water that's been bubbling up out of the ground for a while.
So you want that as an agenda item?
Yes, please.
Water loss. Number 15 under other. Okay, so for agenda additions, I have number 12, pay application, number 5, Caterman Trucking, or the 5th, I should say. Number 13 would be is it MIC TV? Anyways,
Yep.
the shoreline contract. Number 14 would be a special meeting for the second part of the closed session. Number 15 would be the water loss. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion by somebody to approve those?
I'll move that we
I
approve
move that we
the
accept.
agenda additions.
Support.
There's a motion by Ms. McGuire. And
Support by
is
Tim.
the support by Mr. Cummings?
Mr. Cummings.
Okay. Tim and Jeremy, because you're both calling in, it's very faint on my end. So if you wouldn't mind, if you make a motion, if you could say your name, I would appreciate it. Thanks.
You betcha.
Okay, so there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings to add those agenda additions. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. We are now moving into the public hearing component of the board meeting. The public hearing is for the 2022 budget presentation. We actually need to open that as a separate item. So yet again, I need a motion. I will make a motion to open the public hearing for the 2022 budget presentation.
This is Bill. I will support that.
Thank you. There's a motion by Ms. Richards, support by Mr. Palmer to open the public hearing for the 2022 budget presentation. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes. Okay, we are now in the public hearing component of the board meeting for the 2022 budget presentation. This is the time that if you are public and have a question in regard to the 2022 budget, now is the time to ask. Again, it's just for this topic. There's 2 other public comment sections on the agenda, but this is in regard to the budget that was posted. Or Tammy, did you want to add anything to that? Sorry.
Not at this time.
Okay, sorry, I should have asked that question before I said that. I apologize. Okay, I see a raised hand. Go ahead now.
Hi there, this is Kathy Woosterbar. I'd like to just make a comment on, I think what was discussions in a previous meeting about the healthcare coverage. And I like the concept that we're moving away from a 100% plan to maybe an 80% plan that I'm hoping is more affordable for our township. That is something that I've wanted for us to do. I think that there's some cost savings there that, to be physically responsible in our community, we need to be in line with what other companies are providing. So I believe an 80% plan is the most physically responsible thing to do in terms of our healthcare, which is a great cost to our community, but also is a benefit to our employees, which we should absolutely be providing the best plan that we can, but be physically responsible at the same time. So thanks so much for making that move.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Does anybody else have any comments in regard to the budget? You should be able to unmute yourself or use the raise hand feature. Anyone? Last call for budget. Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to end the public hearing?
This is Bill. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire to close the public hearing for the 2022 budget presentation. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. We are back into the regular board meeting. We are at the time of our first public comment on the agenda. First public comment, again, we have two public comment sections. First public comment is reserved to items that are on the agenda. You have 4 minutes to speak. Again, we have a second public comment at the end of the meeting, of which the topics are wide open. So would anybody like to speak at the first public comment? You can use the raise hand feature, or you should be able to unmute yourself if you're on a phone call.
Yes, hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Brian Haley, Oscoda. On number 11, on host compliance, I would ask Ms. Richards, you got a busy night, maybe we should postpone that. And the reason being is I looked in the board packet and there's really no information in there. And that contract's coming to an end this month. I think Mr. Palmer can fill you in on that. But well, why don't we just discuss that next month sometime, first or second meeting? And the reason I bring it up is because if you look a year ago, I had concerns with this contract at that time. So maybe we should discuss it then. You guys talk it amongst yourselves. All right? Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brian. It's my understanding that was on the agenda because you requested it.
I did, but there's Ann, there's no information in the board packet, Ann. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be, believe it or not, nice. There's no information, so we can't have a proper conversation back and forth, is what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying?
I guess. Yeah, I'm just was told that you wanted it on the agenda, so it was
Well,
put on the
yeah, but
agenda with specific questions.
but Miss Richards, okay, I'll use this time then. I was trying to save you time. If in the board meeting packet, usually you would have your information, the contract, and we could discuss this. But now it's just going to be what I have to say, and that's not going to do us any good. So that's why I'm asking that we postpone it until next month.
Well, I believe that Nicole, our planning from the Planning Commission, has a timeline that she's prepared in answer to one of your questions. So
okay, well, good. Yeah, I will listen
I
to
believe
Ms.
she'll
Villette.
do that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll listen to Ms. Villette tonight because I was in on the planning committee, and that'll be just fine. She's got a good narrative on it. She understands it. Okay.
All right. Well, we will plan on her doing that then when it comes on the agenda.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks. Good night.
Yep. Hey, anybody else with a public comment in regard to an agenda item? Okay, last call. Hearing none, moving on. We are at the consent agenda section of our board packet. First on, we have our regular meeting minutes of November 22nd. I know that Josh emailed out a couple versions or a couple updated, and it was mainly who made the motion and support kind of changes. Those were all tweaked and everybody should have a fresh copy. Is there any
I just
comments
have
on
a,
those?
yeah, I have a comment. It shows me as absent and I was present at the meeting.
Okay, I
Is
might
that
have
the
missed
one in
that
the
one.
board packet or the last one I sent you, Steve?
I did look at it's the one in the board packet. I did not look
Okay,
at the
yes.
one you just sent.
Okay, yes, Bill and Ann both caught that one. That is correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? All right, then under finance, we have payment of bills. We have the prepaid from November 30th in the amount of $123,353.27. Is there any questions or comments on those?
On the new November 30th run, I do have a question. I asked for some detail on this. It's the attorney bill on 11/16 and with a 1 hour time of $165 on October 25th. And the information I asked Josh to look into this, I don't think he got a total recap of what it was, but from what I'm getting, it seems to be more of a personal matter with one of our board members, and I don't understand why the township is paying that bill. Unless there's different information, I'd like to hear it.
Hear from who?
Well, it's an email from Ann Richards to review election law provisions, MCL, with opinion. And the information I got back is it's clearly a personal matter. It's nothing to do with the board. So I would like to remove that $165 hour time from the check run on 11/30.
You want me to weigh in on that, Steve?
I've asked Josh to get the information, and correct me if
Well-
I'm wrong, Josh. I don't think you got a lot of detail.
I mean, would you rather just go directly to me? Or I did speak with Josh about that. Can't control what a third party says to you, but I haven't heard anything since. I mean, you're actually suggesting you want to remove after the fact an item from my bill?
Well, my two first points of contact are Tammy and Josh. And when it comes to payables, I'm going to go to Josh, and which I did. And the information that I have, and I believe it's a personal matter, it is not a board issue. So I guess, Tim, if you'd like to clarify it, I'd like to hear it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would like to have that money removed because I believe it's a personal matter, not a board issue.
Well, I don't bill on matters of belief in faith, Steve. I bill only for matters which are squarely within the purview of my employee. And this had to do with the matter of board membership, potential vacancies, what the process would be to fill those, and so forth. You think I'm just, there's lots of personal stuff I hear. Nobody's exempt from that, but it doesn't go into I don't bill for that. I'd really, as a matter of mutual respect and courtesy in the attorney-client relationship, if you got an issue, just ask me. And Josh did bring this up, and Josh can speak for himself on this one. And I thought this was put to bed, but to air this out in a public meeting. You got any other questions about that?
I used the chain of command. So Josh, I guess I'd like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, it was just the information back that we got from you, Tim, just was that vague thing. That's where I asked you if you had any more in-depth details on that. And that is what myself and Steve were looking for as to what exactly that entailed. And I guess that's not what it reflected on the bill in its totality as it was presented. It just presented exactly what Steve said in relation to election law.
Right. I didn't hear anything more after the initial inquiry. I mean, if there is one, I hardly think that, public meeting is for everybody's benefit, is the place to air a question like this, more than happy to answer it, but I'm definitely not going to betray, confidential communications and so forth.
No, it's just more to the concern of whether that would be a township issue. I guess in my opinion and Mr. Wusterbarth, as to what information we did get on that, it seemed that would be something you would use your personal counsel for, not the township attorney.
It's definitely not a personal counsel matter. That would be a conflict, number one. Number two, I wouldn't bill the township for it if it were. But I don't think anybody has the detail on that to make a, if you want to challenge it, fine. But like I say, here's hardly the proper course to do that.
Well, right, and in light of that, I guess, would you be comfortable, Mr. Wusterbarth, with more details on that being presented in email for you? And myself?
Yes, before it's paid. So I'd like to remove it from the check run and take it up at the next meeting.
Well, as applies to the payment of bills, I had a question on one of the items, and it does have to do with the attorney fees. It shows it being for the October billing. I'm just curious, is that correct? And why are we just paying the October bill in December?
I thought it was resolved before the last check that we got, to be honest with you. I don't know why it's even being brought up now.
Well, Mr. Frill, not that. In our payment of bills, it shows your attorney fees for the bills from October.
Oh,
This is December. I'm just wondering, right now we should be paying November's bill. I'm wondering why we're only paying your October invoices at this meeting in December.
No, that was already,
yeah, it's taken care of.
yeah, that was already paid. That
That's
was
why
in the
I'm a little
prepaid run.
confused as to why this is coming up, because that was before. It's already been paid. Right, Josh?
Yes,
So I don't know why it's being brought up now anyway, but
Well, we have in our list of bills to pay on December 15th, there are several attorney fee items in this list of items to pay, and it's showing is the October bill. It would seem to me the October bill should have been paid last month.
Well,
We should-
this is a prepaid run bill for November 30th. So we just had kind of a long gap there. So,
Yeah, but
I mean,
but it says attorney fees October.
right, which is a net 30, so that would be November. And
Yeah,
it's
and
a
December-
prepaid from November 30th.
yeah, so we receive invoice once Tim closes out the month of October. So you're seeing that charge as it relates to the 25th, but then that bill is sent out immediately by Taylor and then usually paid in the middle of the month, and we received it just after the run before that November 30th. So November 30th was my next
Okay.
one to put that into.
Okay, that was the point I was trying to get at, is it because of the time that it came in that we weren't able to get it on the books to pay in November? So,
Correct.
okay,
Yep.
all right. All's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the November 30th run? Which again, we're already prepaid. Okay, any on the December 7th? 129, 252.61. Any questions on that? Okay, then the next one is the check run for December 14th. That's in the amount of $15,594.33. Any questions there? Okay, hearing none then. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Bill. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. We don't have anything under subcommittee reports and project updates. Moving on to superintendent's report. The first one under Tammy's is the assessor services proposal.
Okay, in September of this year, our township assessor announced she would not be renewing her contract with Oscoda Township. After doing the RFP process, we received 0 bids for service. After a discussion with Ms. Schwickert, I asked that she create a proposal for the board to extend her contract until April 30th, 2022, in the hopes that we can recreate our RFP with a few changes and resubmit for proposal. I would ask that the township board approve the proposed contract extension with Northern Assessing.
Is there any questions or discussion on that?
Is there an increase in the cost for the next 6 months?
I believe it was maybe a couple $1,000s. Nancy's on, she's the 7071, if you have any questions for her either. I just thought I would ask her, I wasn't directed to ask her, but I thought it would be a pretty good idea to try and secure her before we ended up with no one at the end of the year.
Very good idea, actually, Tammy. Thank you.
Well, this is Bill. I would just say, I would like to thank her for, I know she had expressed that she was going to be leaving and retiring, and rather than leaving us, in the lurch here, she's agreed to extend her contract for 6 months, and I personally am very thankful that she's willing to do that. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion to approve the contract extension with Northern Assessing as presented, and with a huge thank you to her for offering that.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer. I believe the support was by Judd. Was that Mr.
Yes.
Sutton? Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. And thank you as well, Nancy, for extending. Hopefully we have better luck going out for the second time with the RFP. Unless you totally change your mind and just want to stay.
yes.
It'd be totally fine.
Yeah, just staying. Okay, next on the agenda is the DNR easement for the IBT invoice. Tammy?
Okay, your packet contains an invoice from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources in the amount of $8,700 for easement rights for the Iron Bell Trail through state-owned land. This easement is a very important piece pertaining to the trail, keeping trail users out of the road right away. I have Mr. Freeman here, who has graciously volunteered if you have any questions regarding the invoice.
So I guess I just had I see they waived the application fee, the DNR, yay for them. How do they come up with the $8,700? I mean, where does that number generated from? Like how many feet, or what's the magic number there? Does anybody know?
It comes from the length of the easement that we're looking for through the DNR property. And off the top of my head, I apologize, I don't know exactly what that length is, but of the 3.2 or 3.3 miles of trailway, this is a relatively small portion, but it's also the only one that is going to have I'll say a significant fee associated with it. And it basically allows for the trail to cross their property. It is an internal between state agencies and MDOT and local agencies. This is typical. And it basically just gives you the right to use the trail kind of into the future with no limitations. Other than there's maintenance agreements and all that stuff that come down the line, which we've got built into the project. This $8,700 was built into the grant applications and such, so it will be reimbursable to the township through whichever grant we decide to take it from. The waiving of the application fee, that's more likely, it's just standard language that they put in there. We applied for this through the process, time flies, 2.5 years ago, and there was no cost for the application back then. This is just some standard language that they put out there, irregardless of how the application was applied for. So the $8,700 is specifically for the portion of the trail that is crossing DNR property, and it is a built-in fee that they require of any agency crossing their property for such a facility.
And Rick, this is Bill.
Yes.
Correct if I'm wrong, but this is a one-time fee, not an annual fee, correct?
Correct. It is a one-time fee. So
As opposed, there may be a small fee to consumers that's on an annual basis.
yeah, and that right now we're trying to work that. I think that's a pretty insignificant amount, and there is a possibility they might even waive that, and that's like $100 a year or something like that. But those are all still being worked out between consumers, our friends at the Forestry Service, and all of that good stuff. So this is the one-time largest fee associated with any easements for this project.
Right. I remember at our IET meeting, it was brought up when consumers originally mentioned, we were kind of caught by surprise that consumers was charging a fee for this. And at the time, it appeared it would be a significant fee, more like $1,000 a year, until we had some conversations with consumers and pointed out that the path where it is in consumers' property is actually in the road right away. So they don't charge a fee for being on their property while it's in the road right away. So like you said, it will end up being a relatively small annual fee, if any at all. So,
Right.
Okay.
So it would be our recommendation that the township pay this $8,700, and then we will include it in one of the upcoming reimbursement requests from one of the several grants that we have secured for the township.
Okay, well, this is Bill. I would make a motion that we approve paying the DNR invoice for easements in the amount of $8,700 to be paid from Fund 101-751-880.572.
Support Sutton.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Sutton. Any further questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Moving on, thank you for coming in too, Rick, to answer those questions. Moving on to the Bachmann Drive water line invoice, Tammy?
Okay, Recently, the Township Board approved the joining of 2 dead-end water mains on Bachmann Drive. The contractor that installed the water main extension is requesting a partial reimbursement for the cost of installation, parts, and pressure testing. This amount requested is $7,065. I would ask that the board consider approving the reimbursement to Rourke Builders in the amount of $7,065 to be paid from 591-000-800.300.
And just so the board is aware, this project was finished 3 weeks ago. And this came out of our subcommittee utility meeting over since about August. And what we decided to do is connect 2 dead mains. Originally, this line was going to stop about 120 feet on the property line of the last property. And we thought it would be best to connect those deadheads and get that water circulating. So there are some costs with the pipe, the installation. Originally, we agreed to pay half of the survey costs within that committee, but the way they worked it out is they're going to bill it 25% per parcel. There's 4 parcels involved. So the costs are in line with what we discussed in the subcommittee. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion that we submit payment to Rourke Builders in the amount of $7,065 to be paid from Fund 591-000-800.300.
Or Sutton?
Did we discuss payment before this? Before the work was done?
Yes, we discussed it in a board meeting in October.
And we talked about the amount would be $7,000?
The amount was around $7,000. That is correct. And it was discussed within the subcommittee meetings 3 times.
Okay, well, that's the subcommittee, and it was only discussed with the board at one occasion?
In October that we were proceeding with the project.
Is Bachmann a private road?
It's a private road that I believe, but now has easements. All the utilities have easements. We own the utilities in the easement.
And I know the project costs went up because of the required pipe, thus the bills to Aetna, I believe, or I don't know if that's the pronounced the way, ETNA, I think it's Aetna. But because of the contaminated soil there from the dry cleaner plume and so on, they couldn't use the standard materials. It was an increase in cost based on Eagle's requirement. Isn't that correct as well, Steve?
That's correct.
And
Yes.
oh, okay. So originally the contractor was going to pretty much absorb all of it, but because of the contaminated, quote unquote, and I'm just repeating what Eagle says, the contaminated soils, a different pipe had to be used per their requirement. And that pipe was, I don't remember the exact percentage, but substantially higher cost. So.
Yeah, I believe it was $32 a foot compared to
Yeah.
$8 a foot.
Are all the residents going to be hooked to city water or township water now?
Yes.
When they build, I mean, those are
build.
all future sites. There's going to be curb stops in each one of the locations. There's one house there now, Jamie.
And they installed 4 more curb stops.
Correct.
They
Ready
paid
for, yep.
more, yeah. So they'll be ready to build.
And they will be paying ready to serve charges, correct?
Curb stops are in as soon as we bill them.
I'm sorry, I missed the motion and support on that one.
I made the motion. There's been no support by Sutton.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth, support by Mr. Sutton, and then we're at discussion. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the row engineering invoices, Tammy?
All right, your packet contains 26 invoices from Row Engineering Services for various projects. These invoices will need to be approved individually. In light of saving time, I have provided a list with the fund, the invoice number, and the amount of each invoice. And this, just so everyone is aware, Rick held on to these so we could wait for our reimbursement to be able to pay these directly back from the reimbursement. So that's why it looks so awful. And he is also here if there are any questions about the invoices. There's a
Okay,
couple.
so I guess my thought would be, does anybody have any questions on the invoices so that we can ask Rick those? And then if there's a specific one that you have questions on, and then otherwise we can go through and address each one individually, because didn't we need to address those by number in the motion?
yes.
Okay. So I guess, does anybody have any direct questions for Rick in regard to the invoices that, I'm sorry, how many did you say, Tammy? 32? 23? Huh?
26.
26. I was wrong on both. 26 invoices.
Additional explanation is we also held these back. Some of you might know or whatever, when I say we, the township, we changed Eagle representative Karen Nichols left and Dave Worthington took over. So the other thing that we wanted to make sure is they were in the process of being reviewed, the format and everything by Karen before she left, the invoice format. And when she left, then Dave Worthington had to get up to speed. And again, we wanted to make sure that the invoice format was also correct so that there would be no delay in reimbursement to the township for not only the Eagle projects, but also the ones that are being reimbursed through the IBT Foundation grant for the trail. So.
Okay, thank you. So does anybody have any questions before we dive in?
I don't see
Hearing.
that list, Tammy, that you said you sent.
It's in the
In
in her letter to us,
Oh, okay.
the report.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I had a question for Rick, just
Yes.
because there is so many invoices and it looks like, well, it is a lot of money. But can you tell me or tell the public approximately what the total is that is not covered by our DWRF or some type of grant funding?
Basically, on the list that you have in front of you today, the only two areas that are not covered by any grant funding or whatever are the two as needed invoices that we submitted. Those are invoice 99645 in the amount of $2,305. Invoice 100,826 for the amount of $3,125. And those were related to services for specific funding applications and pursuits that we were looking at with Sue Aller's office, Congressman Kilday's office, tracking the new federal funding coming in and such. And then also some of the review for both the lakeside, the hotel and stuff, as far as some of those reviews. So there's that one, and then the Furtaw Field project invoices 99,470 and 100,727. Those were previously, the work was previously approved by the board, and that is us going through and getting the property descriptions all cleaned up, getting the Mill Street right away removed from basically cutting the parcel in half. So everything else is related to grant reimbursement, or in whether it's DWRF, CW, SRF, or DNR, or like I said, IBT Foundation grant. And then even the Oscoda Wordsmith Airport Industrial Park, that one is through the grant that the airport received as far as paying for the engineering study that was done out there. But everything is covered in its entirety. We're still within budget as far as the allocations that are current, and then the future ones carrying us all the way through construction. We're not in any jeopardy of exceeding the grant amounts. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what was the total that wasn't covered, and the percentage of the overall project that shows? Just out of curiosity.
Well, the ones that
You can ballpark it, of course. I don't need exact.
Yeah, and I don't have the totals absolutely in front of me. The two invoices that are as needed were 2,305 and 3,125.
Rick,
Yeah.
I think you're talking away from the microphone. It's hard to hear you. Sorry. I apologize for interrupting.
Again, the as needed ones totals, one was 2,305. The other one was 3,125. And then the two FERTA field invoices. Let me get to those, hold on. FERTA field, one was for $2,045, and the other one was for $145. So again, I don't have those totals in comparison with the other totals as far as their percentage, but they are a significantly smaller portion that was not covered by any grant or other special funding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so,
So Ann, can I make a motion?
you can.
This is Bill. I will make a motion to approve paying invoices 99645 in the amount of $2,305 and invoice 100826 in the amount of $3,125, both to be paid from Fund 591-000-821.000.
Okay, is there support?
Support from Tim, from Mr.
Okay.
Cummings.
There's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. I would make a motion to pay invoice 99448 in the amount of $4,070. Invoice 99813 in the amount of $8,686. Invoice 100221 in the amount of $13,551.25. And invoice 100665 in the amount of $4,401 to be paid from Fund 101-751-880.572.
This is Bill. I will support.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. Richards, support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried.
One additional explanation before we get into the DWRF and SRF, we have to track these two separately between design services and construction services. So that's why on some of the months or whatever, you'll see a double invoice. One will be for design, one will be for construction, because that's how it was itemized in the DWRF and SRF packets.
Okay. All right, this is a bigger one. Who's going to take this motion?
All right, Ann, I'll make a motion. This is Bill. I will make a motion to approve paying invoices 99179 in the amount of $3,230. Invoice 99698 in the amount of $10,821. Invoice 99699 in the amount of $18,535. Invoice 100136 in the amount of $35,679. Invoice 100367 in the amount of $31,962.50. Invoice 100891 in the amount of $30,110. Invoice 99671 in the amount of $5,202.25. Invoice 100137 in the amount of $28,832.25. And invoice 100374 in the amount of $12,575. Invoice 100892 in the amount of $14,647.50. Invoice 100110 in the amount of $26,884. Invoice 100378 in the amount of $5,097. Invoice 100893 in the amount of $11,440, all to be paid from the DWRF checking account.
I'm sorry, who is the support from?
McGuire.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wushtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Sorry.
I'll make a motion that we pay invoice number 99177 in the amount of $3,952.50. Invoice number 100123 in the amount of $7,710. Invoice number 100370 in the amount of $8,830. And invoice number 10136 in the amount of $9,052.50 to be paid from the CWSRF checking account.
support Sutton,
There's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wushtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried.
I'll take the last one too.
There's two more.
Oh, two more? Oh, I see it. Yep. I'll make a motion to pay invoice number 99473 in the amount of $2,045 and invoice number 100727 in the amount of $145 to be paid from Fund 101-299-801000.
This is Richards, I'll support. I don't know why I'm saying this is Richards since I'm the one writing it down, but anyways, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Ms. Richards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wunschbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried.
I'll do the last one too. Invoice number 99762 in the amount of $36,606.25 to be paid from the Industrial Park Fund from the airport 590-000-821-000.
support, Sutton,
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wunschbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried.
and thank you, Tammy, for making that list.
Yeah, that was just the next thing coming out of my mouth.
Yep.
Thanks, Tammy. That made it a lot easier.
You're welcome.
Just one more thing is
Thank you.
now that we've been able to get through this process, those will be now coming every month. And we'll be making another request for disbursement for both the DWRF and SRF yet this month, working with Ms. Klein and Ms. McGuire to make sure that we got all the numbers appropriately accounted for. So,
Okay,
Pretty sure we've
Thank-
heard that before. We're not gonna get a big chunk of invoices anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick, for all your help.
yeah,
Yep.
thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then. Where am I? Ani Medical Center Purchase Agreement holder, sorry, Tammy.
Okay, I had been waiting for some information to come in regarding our purchase agreement, and I believe Mr. Dickerson and Joel, I can't pronounce Joel's last name, but I
Kestenberg.
believe- thank you.
Yes.
Believe they're both on to speak about this.
Okay,
Todd, I don't know if you want to take it or if you'd like me to. Let me know.
I guess my first question, Tammy, were you able to get the auction contract out to the board?
I emailed it, yes. They may not know it all, but some of them
Okay.
do, some of them don't. In case they
Okay.
don't, it's in their email.
All right, well, just as long as that did get forwarded to them. The short version of the story in the subcommittee, the real estate subcommittee is up to speed on everything. I mean, we've just been waiting for Jeff, is it Konzak? I forget how you pronounce his last name, but come back. We were very close on terms. There were a few little things to clean up, and he drug his feet. And basically, we're at the point of I don't know that he's gonna, fulfill his obligation on that purchase agreement. And after talking with the committee, talking with Joel, we think it's appropriate for the board to shift gears, move forward, and take Oni to auction like we, thought about doing earlier in the year. So with that, Joel, I'll turn it over to you, and you can, I guess, remind them the highlights of, what that means and the things we need to do to be able to execute that.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of shed a little more light onto Jeff as well. I mean, he, is saying, quote unquote, all the right things that he plans on moving forward, but not really showing it with his actions. I mean, claiming that there's some roof stuff that he's got to take a look at and all this, but at the end of the day, he's not moving forward with the purchase agreement. We've never denied him the ability to have a due diligence period after going under contract or anything. So he's just really kind of not moving forward as a purchaser. In industry terms, he's not really acting like a real buyer. And I don't necessarily know what his motivation is, but just doesn't seem like him and his attorney have the intention of moving forward like they had told us they did a couple months ago. From an auction standpoint, you know, the contract that went out to the board shows an auction date of February 23rd. So what the timeline would look like for those who don't remember, there's about a 45 to 50 day lead time once signed up through the auction platform. You know, February 23rd is a little more than that out right now. And, you know, obviously we're taking the holidays into account. From there, we'll have a 3-day live auction. For this building, we expect multiple bidders. And from there, the board decides on a reserve price, which basically means a price that the township is obligated to sell at. From there, if a winning bidder hits at least a minimum of that reserve price, they would be obligated to deposit an earnest money of 10% within 48 hours of the auction, and then close within 30 days cash thereafter.
Okay, is there any
Have we given
additional
that-
questions?
Have we given that potential buyer this warning already? Or
We-
said, look, if you
we-
don't get on the stick, you're not.
Yes.
We're going to move forward.
We have, and we got no response. We had told him
Okay.
last week on Tuesday morning that, you know, basically, and, you know, it was definitely not a threat or anything, or, you know, call our bluff. It just said,
No,
listen,
but just
you know,
a statement of fact.
the township, you know, would like to keep this moving forward. This kind of seems to have stalled. If you guys have any intentions of continuing to move forward, you know, give us something, you know, by Friday of last week, so we would know before this meeting. And we received no word either way. So my assumption would be that, you know, he's not interested, or, you know, maybe something came up that, you know, they want to second guess. Jeff is still going to have every right to purchase the building if he'd like. But from as soon as the board does sign off on the auction, he would owe an additional 5% to the auction company upon, you know, upon a sale. And obviously land contract terms would no longer be offered to him like they were before.
Fair enough.
And so just to verify, we have no contract at all with this party at this time.
No, we're within 2 comments on a purchase agreement of, you know, at least the way that we saw it, of being finalized. But yeah, at this point that we are not under contract or have anything signed. You know, we had gone back and forth with Jeff on that land contract and purchase agreement, but you know, we kind of hit a stall about a month ago, and from there, you know, but between myself and Todd, you know, I'd say we've reached out to him multiple times per week and have just heard basically nothing. We heard a little bit last week, but wasn't really much. So,
Thank you.
and just to reiterate too, on the contract that went out, the reserve price on the building was set originally for $900,000. You know, that is not to say that the building cannot sell for more, but that would be the minimum price that, you know, the building, that the township would be obligated to sell at. And, you know, congruently, if you guys, with our highest bid is an $850,000 bid on auction day, you know, the township can also move to accept that if they'd like as well. So there's a lot of flexibility on your guys' end in terms of what to do. And, you know, I would recommend that we move forward with that route.
And I forget, because this was a while ago that we looked at this, did our attorney review? I believe that this had been reviewed and we were ready to sign, or am I incorrect in that?
Oh, that's correct.
Okay. All right,
You're-
is there any
you're
further
referring to the-
questions or?
I'm referring to the auction agreement, right, Ann?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, we looked that all over and we were ready to go, and then this
Okay.
land contract deal came in.
Okay,
Yeah, and from the auction company standpoint, they are also ready to go. I spoke to Kevin this morning actually, and you know they're ready to go on our end. They're good with the reserve price we spoke about before. You know, he had sent the updated auction agreement. So as long as you guys are ready to go, we're all ready to go, and you know, we'll hit the ground running with it right away.
all right. Well, is there any further questions or anybody ready to make a motion?
I guess I just have one question because I'm looking at the contract and Ann, it has you as a signature. Shouldn't it be Josh because you have a real estate license? And that would, to me, be a conflict.
Why, is it a conflict? It's not her listing.
Right, I don't think it's a conflict, but I believe later on in the agenda, there's a resolution that puts Mr. Sutton as the signator moving forward anyways. So I guess it would be a moot point. We can just change that once that resolution is in place. If you're good with approving it that way, I guess. I mean, I don't think it's a conflict myself, but there is a resolution. It's resolution 2021-39 that is
Okay.
now putting Josh as the signator. So.
I believe
so I
that's
would
only
make a-
for one piece of property.
Hmm?
Sorry. I believe that resolution is only for the one piece of property though. One
Correct.
No,
specified.
that's for all going
That's
forward.
For all, it
For-
says in
it'll
there
be
for
for
all
all
moving
going
forward.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't know that
It's
was
all
in
of
there.
them. If I could
Sorry.
really, real quickly, that it's for the one that we just closed on Lake Street, but also Josh and I talked, and it also includes any others that are authorized by the board, either previously, which would include Skeel, or hereafter. But if you guys are going to go forward with this one, why don't you just include in this motion, if the board's so inclined, just to say that Josh is authorized to sign. If
I'd
it's-
like to make a motion that we go forward with the execution of the CWFS-Reds LLC contract for the auction of the Awney Medical Center and replacing the signatory for Oscoda Township as Josh Sutton, the Township Clerk.
Support by Mr. Cummings.
There's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Good talk to you guys. That was Westerbarth support.
Yep,
Mr.
the
Cummings?
motion by was Mr. Westerbarth, support by Mr. Cummings.
I had one more question.
Okay,
Is there supposed to be required 2 signatures on there or just 1? Shouldn't there be 2 signatures when we're selling or purchasing property?
Well,
Not sure, I
you know,
just don't-
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
depends
to
on what
clarify,
the
you know,
recommendation of the board is.
we're not, at this point, we're only signing as an authorization to, you know, to take this to auction versus, you know, actually the sale of the property. So if there's any, you know, if there's different rules with the township in terms of who needs to sign or how many signatures upon a sale, you know, there will be a purchase and sale agreement that's posted to the auction page prior, you know, anybody that even takes a look at the property and wants to participate in the auction will have a chance to review the purchase agreement, and that includes the board. We'll have a chance to review the purchase agreement, and Tim, when we get a little farther into the process, you'll have a chance to look at it and make your comments as well. So we'll have all our, you know, all our T's crossed and I's dotted prior, and the amount of signatures as well.
So shouldn't it be actually the superintendent that signs instead of the clerk? If that's the case?
For what, Jamie? There's no should or shouldn't. It's just about authority. Period.
Right, so I was thinking that shouldn't the authority be with the superintendent?
There's nothing wrong with it being with the superintendent. It's whoever the board designates. It's the main thing. From a titling standpoint and the land title standards, what they care about is that there is authority for the transaction and then who is in fact authorized to execute on behalf of the board. And that's where the resolution later goes towards number 39, towards
Right,
Josh.
I see that.
But, you know, transaction by transaction is whatever the board decides.
okay, so we have a motion. I have it written down. Sorry, we have a motion by Mr. Westerbarth and support by Mr. Cummings. We had some discussion. Are we ready for a roll call then? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
No.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Westerbarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on the agenda is 2022 budget, OTWP. Tammy?
Okay, you've all had a chance to review the 2022 draft budget. I would ask that the board approve my very hard work for the very first time.
Is there any questions or discussion, or is there a motion?
This is Bill. I would make a motion that we approve the budget as presented.
or Sutton?
Support.
There's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Any further discussion?
Isn't that what the resolution 38 is for?
Well, we have to approve here, I
Then we
believe.
do the
I
resolution.
remember the process, and then we approve the resolution.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the shared services contract to Sabal Township. Tammy?
All right, the contracts which govern provision of services by Oscoda Township to Osable Township are updated each year through addenda to accommodate budget appropriations for the upcoming 2022 fiscal year. To that end, board members will find attached documents which reflect calculations based on the proposed fiscal year 2022 budget. The methodology for the 2022 shared service calculation remains consistent with 2021 calculations. I would ask that authorization be given to the supervisor and clerk to execute the service contract addenda as attached, subject to concurring approval of Oscoda or Osable Township. Sorry.
Go ahead. Is there any questions or motion? Do you need separate motions, Tammy, or just one?
No, just one for this.
Okay.
And this is Bill. I'll make a motion to have the township clerk and supervisor execute the shared service contract with Osable as presented, subject to approval of Osable Township.
Is there support? Support. Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to Oscoda Township Pump Station Replacement Project, pay application number 1. Tammy?
All right. Your packet contains the first pay request in the pump station replacement project in the amount of $218,635.60. This amount is being requested for an initial equipment purchase. I would ask that the board consider approving the first pay request from RCL Construction in the amount of $218,635.60 to be paid from the CWFRF checking.
Okay, is there any questions? All right, do we have a motion?
Yeah, this is Bill. I'll make a motion to approve the first payment request to RCL Construction in the amount of $218,635.60 for initial equipment purchase to be paid out of the CWSRF checking account.
Okay, is there
support
support?
Sutton,
All right. It's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to resolutions. First one is Resolution 2021-36, the sanitary sewer rates. Is there any discussion or motion to approve? Or Tammy, did you have narrative that you wanted to do with that?
Not necessarily. We're doing the increase based off the sewer rate study, according to Baker Tilly, who did our study for us. It's going to be a large increase again this year, and starting it will lower in 2023 to 2%. This year is a 13% increase.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-36 regarding the sanitary sewer and water rates as presented.
Support, Palmer.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton and support by Mr. Palmer for Resolution 2021-36. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is Resolution 2021-37, water rates.
Okay, so we have increased for the second time since the 90s, our water rates. This is actually based off of our revenues and expenditures, and not an actual percentage. I spoke with Tom Traciak today, so he could explain to me how exactly they came up with the increase. He said this time for this year, it is just a number based off of our revenues versus expenditures. In the upcoming years will actually be a 3.5% increase.
Okay, is there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
And this is Bill. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-37 as it relates to adjusted water rates effective January 1st, 2022.
support Sutton,
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the Resolution 2021-38 in regard to adoption of the 2022 budget. Any further discussion or?
And this is Bill. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-38 as it relates to the 2022 budget and as it relates to a General Appropriations Act and to define the powers and duties of the township officers as it relates to administration of the budget.
Support Worcester.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on, we have Resolution 2021-39, approving the clerk as the signator for acquisitions and dispositions. Any further discussion or, again, this was for the one recent sale and then moving forward for future transactions.
I would like to see both the clerk and the superintendent have signatories on those things. If you look at the superintendent's, the resolution with all her duties, there's a couple different bullet points that talk about being the purchasing agent and also to conduct all the sales of personal property that we authorize to sell. So I think that there should be dual signatures. That's just my opinion.
Okay, anybody else?
Nope, I said, my opinion is the superintendent or supervisor's part-time position and the clerk, treasurer, and superintendent are 100% of the time. I would like to keep it as the clerk sole signature, as well as when we get into real estate. I believe there's a conflict with selling real estate and holding a real estate license, whether or not you're personally profiting.
I think we all got that point, Steve. Actually, Jamie was saying putting the superintendent on, not the supervisor.
Oh, I thought it was supervisor. My apologies.
Yeah, no. So she's wanting to add the superintendent by way of the duties that were statutorily, that were given to Tammy or the superintendent.
So then I take back what I said, and I'd be perfectly fine with that because they're both full-time positions.
Okay.
Is
So
that
can
the
we
way the
just,
resolution is written right now?
right now it just has Josh, so it would need to be, we can make a motion amending it to add the superintendent as well, I would assume.
I can tweak that easily if you guys approve that.
Yep, so if you'd like, it would be, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-39, Charter Township, Oscoda, Asco County, Michigan 48750, resolution ratifying real property sale and township clerk and superintendent authority to sign all documents.
Support, Worcester.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton and support by Mr. Westerbarth. With that change being made. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the final resolution this evening, we have resolution 2021-40, budget amendments. Tammy?
All right, so we went through the entire 2021 budget. As you can see, that is provided for backup in your packet. And we, meaning myself and my new assistant, carefully went through to make sure that all budgets would be put in, could we like lines like the pay, overtime, things like that that can't be adjusted throughout the year are now will now be with this amendment where they belong for the rest of the entire year. So I believe I don't have a direct count, but what you see where right below the resolution were all the lines that we adjusted. And I would like to request approval to post these so we make it to the end of the year in a good place.
Okay, are there any questions in regard to the budget amendments that are being presented? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-40, Charter Township Oscoda regarding fiscal year 2021 budget amendments, number 1, as presented.
Support. McGuire.
There's a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the other section of the agenda, we are at bill payment authorization. Tammy?
Okay, as this is our only meeting in December, I would like to request board permission to pay bills for the 21st and I believe the 28th of the rest of the year.
Pardon me, I don't think we've actually canceled the other meeting yet, have we? It's already on the calendar. We keep all of them there, but we just cancel it by formality.
Do we have one do we have another one?
Yeah. Yeah, so it would be the 28th or 27th, something like that. It should be on the calendar because I believe we keep it there just in case we have any end of year business, but my recollection is that we've always had that, and we go through a process here during this meeting at this time of year to cancel that meeting if we're not going to need it. And to make the point you're making, which is to arrange for prepayment.
I'm looking at the 2021 Oscoda Township Board meeting schedule, and we only have one that we, in January of 2021, we only have one on the official board meeting schedule that was approved in January.
So what does January mean? January, you're saying that the year ends with one in December?
Yes, December 13th, if I'm looking at the schedule correctly.
That's very good. That's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there a motion to,
Yeah, and this is Bill. I'll make a motion to approve payment of bills for the remainder of December and to be reviewed at the first meeting in January.
Support.
there's
McGuire.
a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire to authorize those prepays, and then we will review in January. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings, Mr. Cummings,
I'm sorry. Yes.
there. Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is property purchase request. Parcel
Okay.
06305 200 005-00 Kings Corner Road. Tammy?
Okay, this offer to purchase was presented to the previous township board a couple of years ago. Mr. Travis is asking to restart the discussion with the township board to purchase 2.96 acres with a 66-foot easement on Kings Corner Road.
Is he indicating there's no sales price that he's offering? So that,
It's
is that
just to
correct?
begin the discussion.
Okay,
And I believe he's on the meeting.
I saw him, yep, I saw him zoom in. So I guess the question would be, we do have a committee, don't we? For real estate transactions, a subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I guess maybe permission for that to go to the subcommittee.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Is this the property that has the old dump on it?
Yes,
Weren't there all kinds of environmental concerns going on there?
not in the area that he is requesting. I attached the map in the packet to show it, actually shows where it is and where it isn't. And that particular, the contaminants are in the very back of the property.
So we would have to have a lot split done or section off something? Is that
Yes,
correct?
we'd have to do that, yes.
Okay.
Why did the
And I
previous
think-
board say no?
What was that? I'm sorry. Jeremy?
Well, why did the previous board say no?
They didn't, and I don't believe there was ever a decision made. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle.
It was in the process of being investigated by Eagle in terms of the contamination there on the overall property.
Yeah, I guess
So
my
that-
thought would be first and foremost to have our assessor take a look at it, and make sure that, you know, that a lot split would make sense there before we expend too much time. That's just my thought. But I don't, you know, but then have the subcommittee definitely look at it.
Well, the other part of that, Ann, is he's also requesting another 1.34 acres. So it would seem to me, if we're going to consider this, that we package those two together and have the assessor look at what the total piece would be, as opposed to, you know, approving the 2.96 and then
Mhm.
coming back later and doing another 1.3.
Right.
Maybe do the whole thing at once.
Yep. That would
I-
make sense.
I think there probably should be a baseline environmental assessment on that roughly 4 acres that he's talking.
That we're selling to him?
Yes,
It would be necessary for him to do that then, not us.
right.
Yep.
I think
What
that
was
would
the
be,
conclusion- Sorry, what was the conclusion of the Eagle study that was going on at the back in when this went around the first time?
if you look at the maps that are in the packet, it shows the well locations and it has the PFAS numbers. And you'll see that the property closest to Kings Corner Road there, where he's talking about, it's either the level is either non-detect or total PFAS of around 4 parts per trillion, which is even below the new Michigan MCL standards. So for that area, it would be okay, but I think for his benefit and ours as well, a baseline environmental assessment would be a good suggestion. Plus he's agreed to have a survey done of that property, so we could get both of those pieces, do the whole thing at once that he's interested in acquiring.
Right, but
Is
again,
Herb on?
yeah, he's there. I just had one question, Bill. You're not suggesting that we do the baseline though, correct? You're suggesting he does it.
Yeah, he would do that. That would
Okay.
be for that actually to have that done. I
Right.
don't think those are terribly expensive. I don't think that's a huge cost.
Right.
But-
No, they're not, but it has to be, I mean, if we did it, it would protect us. It's not going to protect him. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Friel, but I believe that the purchaser would have to do that. Baseline.
Yeah. I mean, everything's subject to negotiation, but yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Steve, I cut you off. I apologize. You were saying,
I know I was aware of this from the last board and talking to Aaron and a few others. But is Herb on the line so we can hear from him? And
he is on the line, yes.
Okay, so just when he wants to know what he wants to do with it, what the plans are. What's his intent?
I guess my thought would be that that would be the subcommittee that would be dealing with that and then coming back to the board, but
Okay, so I think there's another issue with this parcel that we have to remove first if we're thinking about selling, because I think the parcel 06305-200-005-00 is on the non-disposable list. So would we have to include in our motion to remove it from this piece of it, from the non-disposable list, subject to a split and acceptable terms to be worked out between the subcommittee and Mr. Travis to bring back to the board?
Item number 5 is property disposition. If I put it there, so if after this discussion, it kind of would go together.
I guess my thought would be we would just come, that subcommittee would have a discussion and then based on whether it could even be split or whatever else, then we would come back. But I mean, if you want to decide that now, that's, I guess, the board's pleasure.
Makes sense.
Well, I would make a motion that 2 parts, we temporarily remove the parcel 06305-200-005-00 for a possible split for an intended sale to Travis Sanitation, and all terms and conditions to be worked out by the subcommittee to be brought back to the board for approval, if any.
Okay, is there support?
I'll support that.
Supports by
Madam Chair.
Cummings.
Can you repeat the motion?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion, we remove parcel 063-05-200-005-00 temporarily from the non-property disposition list in order for the subcommittee to possibly enter into a purchase agreement and all terms and conditions to be worked out within the subcommittee to be brought back to the board for approval, if any. Something along those lines.
And support by Cummings.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth and support by Mr. Cummings.
I guess
Uh,
I'd
roll-
like to,
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Further discussion?
I would like to see Nancy take a look at it first too, to see about the split and make sure that we're all on the same page about the report that Mr. Palmer was speaking about before we take it off the property disposition. That's just my opinion.
I think that would all get worked out in the subcommittee.
Okay,
I'd like to keep my motion as stated.
great. Roll call then.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried.
Who was
Moving
support that,
on.
Ann?
Huh?
Who was support on that?
Mr. Cummings,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Moving on to the 2022 schedule for township board meetings. Tammy?
So Mr. Sutton has provided you with next year's township board meeting schedule. And again, there's one meeting in December that we have. Now, if you want to add the possibility of 2, we could do that.
Well,
no, I think we've always had this schedule like this, and then if an additional meeting is needed, we can always add a special meeting at any time. But this is the meeting schedule that's put out for the public, which is by statute that we have to present this to the public so that it's advertised for our meetings for the entire year.
Yes.
Right, and sometimes I know the May meeting gets dropped because of Memorial Day, but it doesn't look like it's affected this year. So,
No.
yep. Right, I make a motion that we approve the schedule as presented.
Support, Palmer.
There's a motion by Ms. Richards, support by Mr. Palmer for the 2022 schedule. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to bad debt write-off.
All right, your packet contains a memo from the previous utility milling clerk asking to write off the amount of $170.10. This address was sold at a state auction, and therefore we cannot collect on any debt that was carried at the time of the auction. So I would ask that we be able to write that off.
Have the new owners paid the $20.55?
I am not sure.
Just
Nope.
curious.
The
They
bad
would
debt
be-
portion, though, I do know is 170.10,
Right.
but I would hope, yeah. Otherwise, they're gonna be in trouble.
Okay.
Any further questions, or is there a motion?
Yeah, sorry, Tammy, I didn't understand the last comment. You'd hope yes, or they'd get in trouble. I didn't understand that.
Well, if you don't pay your water bill,
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, but I thought it was about the new owners picking up the bad debt. Isn't that?
no,
Is that what
no,
you're saying?
I would imagine, because it was purchased from, I believe from what I'm looking at, it was purchased from the state in September. So that would be, the 2055 would be the remainder of that. So it would be,
Right.
since they took over on the bill.
Okay, that's what I was thinking as well. So I was just confused by the comment. Thank you.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve the bad debt write-off in the amount of 170.10.
support Sutton,
Support, thanks.
There's a motion by Ms. Richards, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Property disposition, do we still need that, Tammy, or no?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. That was put on the agenda basically to address the request of the interest in a property that wasn't currently listed on our properties available for disposition. So when we address that with Mr. Westerbar's motion under item property purchase request. So we don't need to discuss
we-
that.
Do we need a separate motion though to remove it from the agenda? Or is it just covered under the prior motion? Because it was a separate item.
I believe it was covered under your prior motion.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we remove other item 5 property disposition as it was discussed in other item 2 property purchase request.
Support, Cummings.
There's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth, support by Mr. Cummings to remove that item from the agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next time we have the Planning Commission resignation. So I received this resignation last week and forwarded it on to both Tammy and Nicole. So I did reach out yesterday to Mimi, but I did not, wait, what's today, Monday? Yes, I did reach out yesterday and did not receive a response, but there's no, I mean, so. I guess unfortunately we are, have to act.
Well, I would just comment, and I'm sorry to see her leave. She's been a big contributor to the Planning Commission. She's been the chairperson of the Planning Commission for the past year, and has put a lot of effort into the Planning Commission. So it's with deep regrets that I would move to accept the resignation of Mimi McDonald from the Planning Commission.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes, with regrets.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes, with regrets.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, with regrets, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, again, with regrets. Thank you, Mimi, for all the time you committed to that group. Next on the agenda is the Planning Commission appointment. Actually had received an application from Jeff Linderman. He actually expressed interest before when we had an opening. I know he's been attending meetings a lot. He did submit a resume in there. Nicole's on the line as well. She approved the recommendation. I guess if the board has any questions, I think it would be a good match for the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Jeff Linderman to the Planning Commission vacancy.
And I just have
Support.
one comment before we move forward with the roll call. In the Planning Enabling Act, it says that members of Planning Commission shall be qualified electors of the local unit of government. I believe Mr. Linderman is in Greenbush Township. But there are exceptions to that. And in our case, we would be allowed one person on the Planning Commission in a local unit other than our local unit of government. So the only question I have is I don't believe, but I don't know for sure that all the current board members, I believe they're all residents of Oscoda. But this would make it so that we could not add another person to the Planning Commission that would be from another local unit of government. Just for clarification on the Planning Enabling Act.
Okay, thanks for that catch. I guess I knew he was involved in Lakewood Shores. I just assumed.
well, he's at
Yeah.
7729.
Hmm?
So he is still in Oscoda. He just gets his mail from the Greenbush address.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I know where his house is on the lake, and he's not past the county line that I know of. I don't know, is he
77,
on the
and then
line?
it goes to 78, and then it drops to 4,000, and that's where Greenbush on the county line takes
Yeah,
it.
so he's Oscoda Township then.
I was gonna say, I know there's a line there just
Yeah.
from real estate wise that,
Do we have an address for him?
yeah, 7729.
I'll tell you.
Figure-
So it's Greenbush, because like even those condos on Lake to Lake have a Greenbush mailing address, but they're Oscoda Township. They have city water
yeah,
there.
The property is 7729 Cedar Lane.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
is an Oscoda Township resident.
So we're fine.
Okay.
Because he has a
So,
Greenbush
yeah.
mailing address.
So that's
Now
So with that-
everybody knows where you live, Jeff. You
Yeah,
better
sorry,
watch out.
Jeff. Yeah,
Sorry.
it is public
Okay.
information.
It is public information. Yeah.
So with that, I will make a motion to approve Jeffrey Lindeman to the Planning Commission with term expiring December 31st. I'm not sure of, he's taking over. I'm not sure what Mimi's term is.
Right. Actually, Miss McGuire made the motion, or started the
No.
motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, she
You
did.
can, yep, she did start it. You can,
Well, I'll
and
support
I,
it. Then I'll support it. This is Jeremy.
okay. So there's a motion by Miss McGuire and support by Mr. Spencer, to approve the appointment of Mr. Linderman to the Planning Commission to finish out Mimi's, or to step into Mimi's position. And I guess we'll have Nicole check on. Nicole, I don't know if she's in the building. I know she's in the meeting, but I don't know if she knows off the top of her head when that seat was vacant, or up till, sorry, the term.
And I believe it's December 31st of 23.
Okay, so we're good. Okay, cool. Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
So there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. And thank you very much, Jeff, for your application. Moving on to number 8, land division. I don't know if Tammy, you want to do this, or Nancy's going to do it?
At this time, I would like Nancy to do it. That way,
All right.
that
Sounds
way
good.
everything will go smoothly. She should be the 7397071.
I know she was in there before.
Yeah, she's in the building.
You should be able to unmute
Oklahoma.
yourself, Tammy. I mean, not Tammy, that's you, Tammy. Nancy. I'll hit ask to unmute, but I think we had a problem
Hello?
before with this. There she is. Hey, Tam, or I think
Hi.
I'm calling you Tammy. Sorry, Nancy.
That's quite all right.
Okay.
Okay, so last board meeting, I had presented a land division request from you, but there was a discrepancy on the one application. And I did contact the individual. He came in and made corrections on those 2 issues. And I resubmitted the entire packet. So basically, we have a parcel of property that is currently jointly owned by 2 brothers, and they wish to each own their own half of the property. Hence the reason they have requested the land division. You will note that the one individual has indicated that they will be providing a recorded easement for vehicular access to the parcel that does not have an access to a road for it right now. It has gone through all of the various departments, and we have approved it and are simply asking for the board's final approval on this division.
Okay. Is there any further questions for Nancy? Boy, I almost called Tammy yet again.
So Nancy, so part of the condition would be that the easement has to get recorded before the split would be officially approved?
Yes, it's a contingency on there, so I would not create the separate parcels of property until I have received proof of that recording of the easement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, or do we have a motion?
This is Bill. I would like to make a motion to approve the division of parcel 063-016-100-003-00 into 2 separate 17.5 acre parcels. with
Support,
the,
Spencer.
with the contingency of the road easement.
Still support, Spencer.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Spencer to approve that land division. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
yes,
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is number 9, chain of command issues. Tammy?
Josh, where are you gonna start the first part? This is a two-part issue.
Yes, there is 2 parts. First part being discussion on the issue related to Mr. Friel superseding the chain of command and going to others for issues the superintendent should be addressing. Inserting himself in the capacity of a board member instead of a contracted lawyer and continually demeaning the superintendent and her ability to do her job. So bringing that up for discussion again, I did bring that up in, I believe, June, or it might have been the beginning of July, where me and Mr. Friel had a discussion on that, continued to go forward at that time. But at this point in time, we are seeing the same issues we've had before. So I am opening up discussion on how we would like to resolve that issue.
And I'll just say this is news to me.
news to me.
Are you saying that Mr. Palmer did not speak to you in the past, as he just stated?
That wasn't Mr. Palmer speaking, that was Mr.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Sutton.
Sutton. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, thank you.
No, not at all. And I just spoke with Ms. Klein this morning.
On this topic?
About a number of topics.
I see.
About, you know, just generally dealing with township affairs, and this definitely was not brought up.
Okay. So, Mr. Sutton, are you saying that you had spoken to Mr. Friel at this point?
Yes, we spoke previously in the summer about this issue, and then, like I said, we had discussed to work it out. We had addressed a lot of those issues. But unfortunately, at this time, I find with complaints given to me and things that I've seen, we are again right back in that same position.
Once again, I have no factual knowledge whatsoever what he's talking about. Pretty pathetic, Josh, actually.
That is
I'm not-
exactly what I'm
Tim-
talking about,
Tim-
Mr. Friel, and that is why I brought it to the board. Comments like that you have made at several meetings, you also have made to our employees and other members of the board.
Would
And I
you
would
like to
ask you
bring them out
reserve
right now?
yourself for your dignity at this point, as this is a board discussion.
All
And
right,
as our attorney, until you are called upon, I ask that you please hold your comments.
you know, in other words, don't talk until you say so, Josh.
Mr. Friel, I'd like you to stop right now because I have a few things to say. I've been listening to Josh and Tammy, and I remember Josh bringing this point up in the summer. And we did have a discussion about it at the same time we went over an organizational chart with chain of command issues. And it even came up earlier today in this board meeting from me. So I've listened to Josh and I've listened to Tammy, and I'll tell you, they're quite frustrated. And so am I, quite frankly. And as far as I'm concerned, there's 3 major people in this township that are there full time, and it's the clerk, the superintendent, and the treasurer. Those are the ones that are key to running the township. None of us, we have questions, but as far as the trustees or the supervisor, unless there's a full board action, there's nothing we can do. And all your direction for specific items should be taken from the clerk and the superintendent. Now, I don't know Jamie's feelings, but I know Josh and Tammy, as they are quite frustrated and continue to be quite frustrated. So I'd simply like to ask Josh and Ms. Klein to chime in. And what would you like us to do?
Yeah, I'm
Well, at
gonna
this
say
point-
again, this is the first time I've heard any of this, Steve. You've never talked to me about this. And I just spoke
Yeah,
with Tammy. I just spoke with Tammy
Mr.
point blank this
Friel?
morning about
Mr.
problems,
Friel,
and this was never raised.
Mr. Friel, the board has the floor, not the
No,
attorney.
actually, Miss Richards has the floor when it comes to this, Steve.
Well, I'm speaking and I have the floor right now.
Well,
No,
apparently,
actually, no, you
apparently I
don't,
have no,
Steve.
according to Mr. Westerbarth, I have no authority whatsoever. So I'm not sure. I guess I'm at a
No.
loss. I would like to speak in
this
the sense that
ambush.
this is a, Ann Richards, this is the township supervisor. This is an agenda item that had no backup whatsoever in our board packet, which does not follow protocol whatsoever. I was not aware in regard whatsoever to this topic until I had a brief conversation with Ms. Klein about 10 minutes before our meeting started, at which time nothing was indicated. It just that it was a two-part conversation. So I think we need to end this topic. I don't think that it is appropriate whatsoever. So it does not follow our protocol and it is not productive. So.
Well, I disagree. We have an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, well,
So
Mr. Westerbarth,
I
you and I
would like to
disagree
hear-
on a lot of things, and I am ending this
Yes, we do.
conversation. Yes.
No, we
Yes.
can't, no. I'm not allowing it
Point
to
of
be
order, I am saying we are ending this conversation.
I would like to make a motion that we remove our attorney and we go out for RFP for a new attorney and seek legal representation in the interim.
Wow.
I'll support that motion.
Any further discussion? I think that this is a completely inappropriate move. And it just is kind of ironic to me compared to thinking how we got to this point of having Mr. Friel as an attorney. But
I guess at this point, I'm appalled that you would defend his behavior in this meeting, which basically
called a question.
proved
We had a
exactly
motion
what
and a
our
second.
issue is.
we
Call
have
the
a,
question.
okay, yep, and I made a comment before, any other comments before we go to roll call? Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
No.
Mr. Cummings,
I don't understand. So
Mr. Sutton made a motion. Mr. Westerbarth
Yeah.
supported it to end our contract with Mr. Friel and seek a new RFP or do an RFP for a new attorney. That's the motion on the table, Mr. Cummings.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel ill-informed to make a decision, Ms. Richards. I'm sorry.
that would make two of
there's
us.
Such a call to order.
Makes three of us.
You know, Ms. Richards, this is the point at which there shouldn't be discussion, and yet I'm forced to have to make a decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. I don't understand.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Mr.
Mr.
Cummings,
Palmer?
sorry.
Sorry, next we have Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
No,
Ms. Richards,
No. Motion failed. Okay. It's a two-part. I believe Josh had the first part. Tammy, would you like to go with the second part?
Yes. Recently there had been some reported issues with superseding chain of command. I would like to request at this time to postpone this item until the January 10 meeting, in light of some other information that I received today. I would like to further check into this.
Okay. So you're making a motion. Is there support for that?
She can't make a motion.
Okay, sorry.
Just asking that the board postpone.
Okay,
I'll make a motion. We postpone the second part of the chain of command issues until the next regular scheduled board meeting.
Support.
Support by Cummings.
okay, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings to postpone the second part of the chain of command issues. Roll call, please, until the January 10th meeting or whatever the next January meeting is.
Mr. Spencer, Mr. Spencer,
No.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. All right, moving on to number 10, term renewals of Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. There's a letter in the packet from Nicole on that matter, and I believe she is still on the line.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Does anybody have any questions for Nicole? They're looking to extend to a couple terms. Okay, with that, no questions. I make a motion to reappoint Mr. Schultz for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2023 to the Planning Commission.
support Sutton,
Support by Mr. Cummings.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. Richards, support by, actually, Mr. Sutton beat you, sorry. Mr. Cummings, for the reappointment of Greg Schultz. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next, we have the Zoning Board of Appeals member, Adam Hume. His term was going to expire on the 31st of this year. I would make a motion to reappoint him for a 2-year term, that term ending December 31st on 2023.
Support McGuire.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. Richards, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on, we have number 11, short-term rental initiative, host compliance discussion. Again, this was requested by the public per our protocol that is allowed. So it was requested by a public member to be put on the agenda. Nicole has provided a narrative that she would like to give now.
Okay, so I was tasked with putting together this analysis regarding short-term rentals for Brian Haley's agenda request. I do want everybody to remember that I wasn't here when this process got started, and that's not me blame shifting. I just had to really kind of piece things together through email and meeting minutes. So I've done that to the best of my ability. And here we go. His first question or statement was that he desired a full analysis of the origin, how the short-term rental program was initiated in Oscoda. So from what I could find, the superintendent at that time, who was Dave Schaefer, sent the zoning administrator a document via email titled Expectations for Lorna Gansey, January 15th, 2019. One of her expectations for that year was to explore options for a rental registry. The next question was if this was a redevelopment ready communities program, and exactly how the EID director, EIC, and the Planning Commission was involved in this entire background approval process. So it was not an RRC program, and Todd was not involved in this process at all. He was actually hired. He was recommended to the Board of Trustees for hire at the October 14th, 2019 meeting. And as I just stated, this started in January of 19. And then a little side note about the RRC program. It was in 2017 that the Township Board passed a resolution. It was resolution number 2017-20 to participate in the MEDC Redevelopment Ready Communities Program. So that was 2 years prior to Mr. Dickerson being hired. So next up, he asked for a detailed explanation of how the Oscoda Township Board made such a mistake in the first place as it relates to the subject matter. So bear with me here. I have a few dates to go over, just key dates and meetings of when these discussions took place, discussions and actions. So at the February 4th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the rental property registration topic was discussed and referred to the Planning Commission Subcommittee for development. On February 8th of 19, then Superintendent Dave Schaefer spoke with the clerk from Elk Rapids regarding host compliance. Municipalities in the Traverse City area highly recommended host compliance to Elk Rapids. So Dave proceeded with scheduling a web conference with host compliance in March of 19 for more information. In May, June, and July of 19, Lorna, Dave, and others attended web conferences with host compliance. At the August 5th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, it was stated there would be a contract with host compliance coming soon. September 3rd of 19 Planning Commission meeting, a short-term rental draft ordinance and host compliance contract were presented. And you are able to find all of these documents, typically the contract that was presented, the draft ordinance, and then all the minutes, they are available in documents on demand. So between September 3rd, 2019 and November 9th of 2020, that was when the Board of Trustees approved the contract. The township and host compliance went back and forth on terms until they both came to an agreement. So there was a lot of negotiating, well over a year of going back and forth with contracts and fixing those contracts. And then, so like I said, November of 2020, the board approved it. And then I believe it was started to be implemented through there. And then Eric, when he was the zoning director, he presented the fee to the township board for registering of short-term rentals, and it received approval. So the last question is who we hold accountable for all of this. The best answer I can give, I would say, would be just administration and members that are no longer with the township. If there were anybody to be held accountable. I believe that a lot of the information given by host compliance, it just it sounded like a really good program. So, you know, I feel they were probably doing what they thought was, you know, the best for the township. I can't speak for them, and they're not here to hold accountable. So moving forward, I just ask that you see that I did request of the planning commission not to renew the contract. And keep in mind that they made a motion and they all approved that. So moving forward, host compliance, we're not working with them. And I guess that's my timeline.
Okay. Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate that presentation. Basically, again, as we discussed, the public does have can request something be put on the agenda. We are addressing what was asked. If there are questions on that, then when we get to public comment, if Mr. Haley or anybody else would like to ask questions, they can at that time or at a future meeting. So thank you very much, Nicole. I appreciate it. I'm sure it took you quite a bit of time to put all that together. So
yeah, and
you.
I do want to add that if there are specific questions, I am not ready to answer them tonight. And
No,
and
correct.
that's only because I would want some time to look into the answers, because I'm not, you know, fully familiar with how this whole program was initiated. I'd be more than willing to look into and answer questions. I probably won't be on for public comment, but I'm sure everybody has my phone number, my email, and they know where to find me. So any questions, just detail them out and I will answer.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And I didn't
Okay.
mean that you would be answering the questions. I just mean that could be that where they ask them and we can get those to you. So wouldn't put you
that
on the
sounds
spot like
good.
that. Yeah, all right. Wouldn't put you on the spot like that.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you. All right, then moving on to number 13, we have the contract for, and I'm sorry, I always forget, is it MICTV?
Yes.
Jeremy, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
and shoreline contract. You wanted an update on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to get information on the contract. I think there's been some exchanges here, and so Tammy, you may have information, but I wanted to ask that. And I also have another couple comments, but go ahead. Tammy,
Okay.
you first.
Me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So as of today, we have the shoreline players contract all ready to go. I left a voicemail with Sue Miller, letting her know that they could sign and send it in and have Ann and Josh take a look and then sign it after that. The MICTV contract is, I believe, Ann, just about finished. Yours was the last signature today, right?
It was, I received on my township email, a request to do a DocuSign, which I indicated I was not comfortable with. I believe that they signed. I will print it off so I can take a look at it and then sign it in person.
That's where we're at.
Okay, yeah, very good. I just wanted to say, Sue Miller may or may not be on this call right now, but are you able to see her, Ann?
I think we have 41 people.
Okay.
I have
Oops.
somebody that has a raised thumb. I don't know what that is. Sue, yes. Sue has a raised thumb and a hand up. Yes, she's on the call.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so she had called me expressing some concerns about the quality of the two contracts that were presented to her, where basically the shoreline players contract looked like it had been a rewrite of a contract in the past where maybe the organization had been the government organization has been the one that leasing a location or a piece of property, and now in this particular case with Oscoda Township, it's in the opposite situation. We're actually the leaseor leasing some other piece of property, and it looked like there was a number of instances where the the language between leasee and leaseor hadn't been properly switched. And at one point she had to discover just at the last minute today, when she was rereading it all again, that we were setting ourselves up to pay their utility bills, which was really kind of preposterous. So I was really voicing my concern about the contracts that we're presenting to vendors and asking that people be aware of this. And Mr. Friel, please, have your paralegal, pay more attention to this so that we don't have this issue and basically push the onerous, the responsibility onto the vendors to write our contracts. And that's the end of my point.
Okay.
Well, if I might add, I spoke with Sue just like a few hours, must have been like 2 or 3 o'clock, and she was all set with the contract except for one phrase that I sent back to Mr. Friel and he immediately fixed. So that was as far as today, this afternoon.
Can I ask real quick?
And I'm glad that, I'm glad that these are moving forward because they are interested in trying to get these contracts signed so that they can actually enact them. I should actually also point out, they've gone quite a distance here prior to the contract signature to make good on their commitments to the township, even though we're right here at the 15 days before kind of the deadline of us being able to get everything in place, them getting a furnace installed, and getting the cameras ready, getting this whole environment prepared for us to have the face-to-face meetings again, which the public's been asking for, and they could have delivered it sooner, but weren't able to because of the contract condition. At least that's what she was complaining about. And it sounded like there was just a lot of work. That's the point. And Mr. Friel was about to speak, so I turn it over to you now.
Yeah, Tim, I was going to ask you what when you made reference to my paralegal, what were you talking about?
Somebody's writing the contract. It's you or somebody who might be working for you, and I'm just saying we just needed to tighten that up a bit because it sounded like we were making our vendors do the work that you're being expected to do.
What? Are you talking about the Shoreline Player Lease Agreement?
Yes, and the MIC TV agreement as well.
No, okay. So to be clear on that, geez, and let me just say, it'd be nice to have fair warning, before the ambush, since this isn't supposed to be a war. But with regard to both the MICTV contracts and the Shoreline ones, I mean, I had been in thorough communication with the township office on that. And I had put a couple of drafts out weeks ago. And I just got a red line, quote unquote, version from the Shorelines Friday night. Just so you know, I mean, as is often the case, I'm working weekends and Sundays, and I got this back. There was I tried to use what was given to me initially by the Shoreline players in the context of the lease. There's the Zoom MICTV contract, that's one thing. Going hand in hand with a bunch of mutual players there with the Shoreline Players lease, there was one sentence, I think it was in paragraph 2 or 3, where it talked about utility obligations. And it was, my paralegal has nothing to do with this, or my legal assistant. I do all of this myself, and she never saw it, and it was changed immediately. But the turnover time, this is where I'm really surprised at what's happened tonight. The turnover time has been all but instantaneous on the things that others are complaining about. That, like Tammy indicated, was taken care of right away. So just so you know, there's a lot more to it. I mean, 2 weeks ago, or more than that, I was out in Portland, Oregon, working on this with the MICTV agreement when I had been given a draft of what was used before, before we went to the Zoom era. And now on a new premises, no less, and we're doing this, doing this quote versus that quote and all that. So just so you know, I mean, if anybody's interested in my angle on this, I'm more than willing to share it. This is the first time and the first forum in which I've been even asked about it, but that was relatively immediately addressed.
Okay, thank you, Tim. All right, so we have the contract in place now though, correct, Tammy? I mean, not in place, but we have a version that has been signed by them and just myself and the clerk need to execute.
I'm waiting for Sue. Sue, as far as the MIC TV contract, that one is just waiting for you. And the Shoreline Players is waiting for them to sign first. So I'm just waiting to get that back.
Okay, so we're technically waiting on them to sign, and then when we get it, then we will sign.
Yes, and then the bill
Okay.
will be both bills.
Okay, thank you very much. Does that answer your questions then, Tim? Mr. Cummings? Sorry, I know we have
Thank
two
you.
on.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Okay,
We're
thank you.
good. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on then to number 14, which is setting a new closed session. What? Your volume isn't on.
We need to go back to Caterman, was number 12. We skipped over that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. My eyeballs went over. Okay, so I'm gonna backwards. So number 12, pay application number 5, Caterman Trucking. I'm sorry about that.
All right, and I did send this out in an email to the board members earlier today for review. If you have any questions on that, feel free. It's pretty cut and dry as to its application number 5. Total amount of that billing is going to be $137,146.78 to be paid out to Caterman Trucking.
And we have the engineer that signed off on that.
Yes.
Okay, are there any questions or a motion?
Yeah, and this is Bill. I'll make a motion. Originally, this was in the original packet.
Right.
That's what I questioned. It wasn't on the agenda, but anyway, I will make a motion to approve the pay request number 5 from Caterman Trucking in the amount of $137,146.78.
Support, Sutton?
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton to approve pay application number 5 to Caterman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Sorry for skipping that on the agenda. Next on then is setting the a special meeting.
Yes.
Can we try to do that? I mean, are we gonna try to do that this week or? I'm leaving town Thursday evening. And I do have a couple meetings, 911 tomorrow and an airport authority meeting on Thursday, but evenings are fine. Tuesday or Wednesday, if that works for anybody.
Either one of those days.
Unfortunate.
Me in the
Leave
evening.
it up for the rest of the board.
I'm sorry, what, Steve?
I have a really hard week because we go down for holidays with the businesses at the end of this week. I'll have to catch up, but I'll wait to hear what everybody has and I'll look at my calendar.
Yeah, and could you just repeat the evenings you mentioned? I'm sorry.
Tuesday and Wednesday, like tomorrow or Wednesday would work for me.
Uh-huh.
And then, but then it would be it would be the following week because I'm out of town the 16th through the 20th. So like the 21st or the 22nd of next week or 23rd for that matter, but hoping we could do it this week if we could. If
Yeah,
Tuesday or Wednesday would work.
So Tuesday or Wednesday would work for me as well, but it would have to be in the evening, not during the day is my only problem. It would have to be like the 6 o'clock like we did tonight, if that's possible with anybody else.
Yeah, that would work for me as well.
That works.
Yeah,
for
that
me.
works for me. Either day.
Yeah, 6 o'clock either day would work for me as well.
So Tuesday, 6 p.m. Would
Steve?
that work for everybody? Steve,
Can we,
Jeremy?
are we gonna have enough time to post that?
We need
No,
18
we
hours.
need 18 hours. Unfortunately, Tuesday, Wednesday is not going to work for me this week.
I can't do next week.
Yeah, I'm actually not going to be able to do it either. I'm with you, Jamie. We need an hour. Is that about right?
Yes.
I would plan for an hour.
Then Wednesday, end of afternoon, like maybe 4 to 5 or something like that. Or, I mean, is that is that not possible at all, Mr. Friel, or is it just the evening?
Oh, it's Mr. Worcesterbarth, Tim. Yeah,
I'm sorry. No. I spoke to
You
yeah,
guys just go ahead.
but it was somebody else who said that he could make it. Sorry. Sorry.
that was me.
Okay.
Yeah, Tuesday,
So you
Wednesday
couldn't
is
do the
out for me.
evening. I got it. I see. I got it. Just in general, no matter what a time of the day. I see.
Unfortunately, I have Japan calls in the evening.
Right. And while I have the ability to do Thursday as well, I mean, and is it possible toward the end of the week for you?
I am going out of town on Thursday. I fly out at 7, so I'll be on the road, I think like 5 o'clock, and I have an airport authority meeting at 10. I mean, I could do in like an afternoon, I would say by noon, I could do like a noon on Thursday, but I don't know if that would work for you guys. Or 1, but then I have to get on the road because I'm flying out of Metro, so.
And I know myself and Miss Klein will be in Alpena with doing the tour of the recycling center up there this Thursday.
And Friday I could, I guess I could do, but I would be zooming in and I can't run the meeting. So.
Right.
Which we've done before when I've been out of town, somebody else can, I mean, Tammy would, just host it. So Friday would work. I would just
Does
call
Friday
in.
afternoon work for anybody else? It would be,
I can do Friday.
I don't know, late
That would be-
afternoon, mid-afternoon.
Friday the 16th.
The 17th.
No, I'm sorry, Friday the 17th.
I can make Friday work.
Mid-afternoon.
Unfortunately, I can't on the 17th. I will be on the road.
And did you say the following week is completely out for you, Jamie, the 20th, 21st, 22nd?
22nd is out. I could do Monday, possibly.
Monday, I'm traveling.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What time? If it's Tuesday, no, what's the 22nd? If it's first thing in the morning.
Tuesday's the 21st.
Oh, Tuesday's the 21st?
Yeah.
I could
I
probably
might-
do the Tuesday then, not Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Does Tuesday the 21st work for everybody?
That worked for me.
Yep, works for me.
It does. It does.
Okay, so the morning?
Tim, is that good?
Tim Cummings, Tim Friel, which one?
Tim Cummings.
Okay, find it out. Yes, so yes, when we say morning, what time are
Whatever's-
you looking at?
Whatever is good for
Like
you,
nine-
because I know, yeah.
Well, ideally, it'd be great if we could do anything in the afternoon, to be honest, but that's, give me a second, let me think with a moment here. Let's see, we do a little time zone arithmetic here. Yeah, if we could do an early afternoon, anything from 12:30 to 3:30, or even 4:30, I guess at that point, that would be fine with me. Does that help you, Steve, at all, given that breadth of time?
Next Tuesday is wide open for me on vacation.
Oh, wow. I got it.
Earlier would be better for me on Tuesday. So if you could do the 12:30.
Let's do 12:30 then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
very much,
so
everyone.
Tuesday, December 21st at 12:30 PM.
Yes,
That's good?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, can somebody please make a motion, or I'll make a motion that we set a special meeting on Tuesday, December 21st at 12:30 PM.
Support, Sutton?
Support.
Motion by Richards, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Last on the agenda is number 15, water loss.
So I
Amy?
know that we've been having lots of talk and discussion about that and the amount of the water loss that we've had. I had a phone call a couple weeks ago now from somebody that used to work for the water department that now works for Coletta, and they said that there was water bubbling up out of the ground in two different locations, one in front of hangar 1 and a valve in the street and in front of hangar 3. And still to date, those have not been addressed. So we still have water leaking coming out of the ground at those two locations. And I was wondering if anybody has an update about that, or what the plan is, or I don't even know, but I'm a little disappointed that they have not been addressed.
Well, I guess my first question would be, somebody let you know that, but is F&V aware of that?
Yes, that same day, F&V was made aware, and they have actually the one location in front of hangar 1, they've gone out there and looked at it and still have not fixed it even before this chance. They already knew about that one. And from what I understand is they said they don't have the equipment to fix it, but I'm not really, I don't know enough about it, but I guess if we had water leaking, why wouldn't we borrow the equipment or find some equipment from somebody that must have some type of equipment to get under the cement to fix that?
I believe, Anne, if you remember that last meeting we had with Kath when she was talking about the leak that was under the cement. Do you remember any of that? I think
Kinda.
that's one of them. She was
Okay.
talking about how it's the curb stops underneath the cement. That's just the only that I have heard about it as far as addressing Jamie reporting it. That was all in the same day.
Yeah, yes.
But that's
So
the last I've heard of it.
Okay, so we need to circle back with F&V and find out what's going on.
I will make a note and send everybody an email back on that tomorrow. See what I can come up with.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, we are through the agenda. So moving on to public comment. Second public comment, you can speak on topics that we discussed tonight, didn't discuss tonight. Same requirements. 4 minutes. Please state your name. Sorry, I'm trying to find my timer on my phone. Okay, please state your name and then go from there. So if you have a public comment, use the raise hand feature, or if you've called in, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, Brian Haley again. Yeah, that water loss, I wasn't going to talk about that, but that's what we tried talking about, 4 to 6 weeks ago, then we got off track with whatever goofy comments that were made. Yeah, but it looks like, have we done the math on how much potential we're losing as far as dollar amounts for the year? Because, that needs to be done. I realize you're not going to answer questions back and forth with me, but from my rough math, we're on a potential to lose $400,000, right? It is that serious. It's an emergency. That's why I brought it up. Months back, Mr. Palmer's been talking about it, as I recalled then. I don't know. it's the standards that you want to set, but from what I'm looking at, you guys, 15% maybe in northern Michigan, but when you get near 20% water loss, we got serious issues, whether it's just, looking at the runway for this example, but we're losing far more than that. We have water flow. There's probably more water flow below us at times than there is what you're looking at above at the Oscoda River. There's tons of water. So if we're leaking water through mains, it could end up in a lower tributary that, we can't see it. So, yeah, we got water loss. It's over 40-some% at times. So hopefully we're going to get another water loss at the end of this month, the report, right? So let's compare that. Maybe we ought to look back, at last year's full water loss reports also. Switching gears, get to Ms. Vallette put forth a pretty fine narrative, but the things I was talking about with the host contract were more internal that I thought would have been caught at the Planning Commission, wherever this came forth. When we looked at the host and the contractor putting forth money, joining into a program to try to claw it back, and we received nothing from this, but there were telltale signs with hosts, not just the change of hands. I think they changed hands 3 times. Mr. Palmer knows about this, but I saw it twice. Of course, that got me going a little bit. But when Mr. Palmer said at the board meeting, when you guys went ahead and voted on it a year ago or so, and that's why I brought it up, he said that Elk Rapids, was involved with this program. But when I reached out to Elk Rapids, you see, this is where I want more thorough homework done. And that was my main point, and that's why I brought it up. Elk Rapids just signed up to it a little bit before you guys did, so they had no track record. But when we listen to meetings, we think, well, someone else is doing it, this and that and the other. Now, Ms. Vallette did inform me, I heard tonight, which I'm glad she did, that Traverse City had been utilizing that program. But again, I didn't hear any track record from Traverse City. So that's why I brought it up. And just moving forward, how much time do I have left?
You have 46 seconds.
Oh, and it's counting. Hey, you guys, again, from a year ago, there's no way you're even going to probably listen to what I have to say, but you cannot ambush people. You just can't do it. It's wrong. It is terribly wrong. What I've heard over this past year, but it started a few years ago. When we have the clerk or the treasurer or the supervisor, they're running the meetings. They're in a defensive mode, but yet they're trying to be engaged with the meeting, almost like the attorney. And I don't even agree with some of his advice sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. This is Christmas time, so we got to respect each other better. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Do we have a raised hand, Sue?
Hi, this is Sue Miller from Shoreline Players.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment on our contract situation. Just to be clear, the MIC TV contract was received back on November 12th. The Shoreline Players contract did not get emailed to me until December 3rd. So I don't know how I was expected to do my due diligence, contact my attorney, contact my insurance company on behalf of Shoreline Players, our insurance company, our attorney, and have that back in time for a meeting on the 13th. And I've been questioned as to why isn't this happening? But yet I didn't even have papers in my hand until Friday, December 3rd. So that was my concern. And Mr. Friel openly admitted in his email to me that he took a contract that he had written for Tawas City leasing out a property and tried to make it fit what we were doing. And there was some confusion based on that. And that was a concern. And I did have to redline items in the contract. And yes, Tammy and I did talk tonight. Unfortunately, by the time she called back, I couldn't get a call into the Township Hall or at least if I did, I didn't do it right when I tried and didn't get to anyone. But we are at this point now where we can sign the contract. Mr. Cummings is correct. We have moved forward in good faith since October, and ourselves, Shoreline Players, as well as MICTV, have done everything that we can to be prepared up to this point to get the meetings set up for the new year in the theater.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, was that it, or did you have more?
Unless anybody has any questions, but it has not been an easy process. And a lot of rewriting was done on the MICTV contract as well, because I am a trustee on the board for there. And I was asked to review the contract for that as well. So it has been a rather taxing process, and I'm glad we're to the point where signatures are happening and things are moving forward. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'd be happy to answer them if I can. If not, that's all I needed to say.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Okay, we do have Deborah. You should be able to unmute yourself.
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I wanted to bring up the couple of times we've discussed or it's been brought up about the Open Meetings Act. And when someone makes a comment during public comments and the board members seem to go on the defensive instead of being considerate that someone has a concern. Like I said, the Open Meetings Act, it's been brought up several times. I even emailed the superintendent and the planning and zoning director about this because it was brought up at their meeting. The superintendent told me that it was turned over to the township lawyer. I think that was about a week ago, but I never got a response. People have a hard time finding where the town board meetings are posted. The website is not user-friendly when it comes to that at all. Instead of saying that, we'll look into it and try to make it easier for the public to find notices, we're being told that the township is doing what is required by law, which I disagree with. And it's obviously a problem, and it's possibly illegal the way that they're being posted. So I don't understand the attitude that you don't want to look into it and don't want to come to a some way that people can find these meetings, how they're posted. Attitude is not going to help anything. We all saw what happened when Mr. Dickinson's hammerhead remarks were not addressed by the board. That didn't turn out well at all for you guys. I think it made the board look ridiculous, and it made you guys look vengeful. And as while I'm talking about that, I'm still waiting for a response from Mr. Dickinson and board action on that issue. You guys just appointed someone to the planning commission tonight. It's another person that's running a Facebook page that censors people. I just think these people that are running those pages need to not be running the Facebook pages. They're not allowing people to speak up on them, and that needs to be taken care of. I keep wondering why you guys don't discuss old business. Things are brought up, like for example, the recycling that two people were sent down to go to some meeting down, I think it was in Bay City. You guys talk about something like that and then it just seems to disappear and nothing is said about it again. So I know that was like around the end of October, and it's never been brought up before, or again, I should say, not before. Also, I noticed in some of the paperwork that was in the meeting packet that there was something about the archway, which hasn't been talked about in a while. And I believe I saw that $80,000 was set aside for that. All I can say is, wow, $80,000 for an archway when this town needs so many things. Okay, and I'm going to take my time again to go over a few things that I just can't believe is going on in this town, like the Lake Street property being sold at a loss, the mural, paying $10,000 for a mural that I was in town a couple weeks ago. Couldn't even find it unless I went down an alley. Website documents that were not put on the webpage, and now we have to pay Mr. Dickerson an additional $3,000 to have that done. The short-term rental contract that cost the township $12,000.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Deborah. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have another raised hand, Dirk.
Thank you, Ann. Dirk Hunt, 6910 Knollwood Court. Wow, an exciting meeting tonight, friends and frenemies. There's so many things now to address more. The open meetings emergency orders are being violated. I informed you folks at least 3 months ago about that. It's very simple. There's nobody at the township board that has editor access to go into the header file and just paste in the link to the Zoom meeting. At least you'll be fulfilling that part of the Open Meetings Act. I mean, the TTDY services, that's an entire another issue. Didn't know about the $80,000 arch. I was talking with somebody and I was saying if it was 20 or 30, that's ridiculous. So we spent $80,000 on an arch, $60,000 to pay a company to host these meetings that 100 people on average watch each year. Nicole, thank you. You do your research, you do your hard work, and I appreciate you coming here and being part of our community. What else did I jot down that I wanted to add before I went into my speech? And Ann, you just give me a warning 30 seconds before my 4 are gone. Commissioners and members like that, why don't we cast a wider net? I've lived in towns and areas before where opening comes up, they put out a notice, hey, we're looking for people to volunteer to help out with this and get your applications in 2, where I lived last, it was 30 days. But why don't we want to get more people and not just insiders that know, hey, this opening came open. Okay, to what my main point is tonight. Living here permanently the past 4 years and part of our community for all of my 57. And I'm choosing my words carefully because we need to become closer together and not further apart. So being the talk show host, recovering one that I am, I'm trying to be very nice. Many of our neighbors think it appears that corruption or ignorance, I hope, in addition to the continued lack of transparency. This is not rocket science, people. There's been curious closed meetings, innuendos in the papers published by members, blatant sexist attacks, attempts at creating unnamed scandals, which give the impression, at least to some people, that there's intimidation of fellow board members going on. That stuff we shouldn't even be thinking this stuff is going on. All right, Fertall Field. When the dishonesty or lack of being forthcoming on the first attempt to try to sell Paul Bunyan Park or move the town hall to replace it resulted in an outcry of this was simply being wrong thinking, it took us, the people here, to stop and expose what was going on. But then you tried to do it again and you were stopped. I mean, I moved here 4 years ago. I just been back a couple of years when this started up, and I was getting out of the political business and trying to chill out and recover from talk radio. But I went, wow, people here in town care about issues. They'll make their voices heard. When are you guys going to stop about Fertall and maybe say, hey, sorry, we're wrong, we're listening, and work with the people on reimagining the park? Everybody wants it better and greater, but don't give it away. Look at them like mixed usage, 4-season recreation, more park-like space with shade that could function as a small festival grounds for large events. I mean, it's capable.
Sorry, I forgot to give you 16 seconds left. Sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, I'm way behind. In regards to Mr. Dickerson, we've seen the 2 weeks of coverage in the press about one of our contract workers, and the board's reaction to this has been very, very saddening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, moving on, Jen. I see a raised hand with Jen.
Yes, Ann, thank you.
Okay, please
Um,
state your, I mean, I know you just stated your name, but
You're
please
fine,
state your,
Ann. I'm Jen Kirch.
okay, and your
and
address.
Is here on Gagnon Trail in Oscoda.
Okay,
Permanent resident here in Oscoda. I came here to take care of family, to follow up in my family's history of what a great area this is. And I gotta tell you, it's anything but that. This board, Mr. Dickerson, you are profoundly affecting our lives. This is some of the last things I think about before I go to bed. It wakes me up in the middle of the night. Your actions are not trivial. They ripple across. And I don't think you hear us, and I don't think you care. You've turned our beach into something corporate. People don't come here for 4-story hotels. They come here for canoes, for Paul Bunyan festivals, to get away. And you're losing sight of that. And now I'm going to address Mr. Dickerson and his terrorism. I'm going to address this board and Mr. Dickerson's terrorism threats.
I am not going to allow that on public comment. I'm sorry. You can
Yes, you
chastise
are,
me.
because
No, I'm not. You can rail me on social media all you want. You are not going to name call and do that and call somebody anything like that. It's not going to happen.
The man deserves to be.
Okay. End of public session. Public
Ma'am,
comment. I apologize, board, but I am not going to have. It's not going to happen. So.
And you have my support.
Okay, well, again, I'm sorry, Jen, but you are being, you are now being put in the waiting room. So that is not appropriate, not gonna happen. And end of discussion. Anybody else with public comment? Last call for public comment. Hearing none. We are now on to the board comment section of the board meeting. Does any board members have board comment?
And this is Steve. I'd like to go first, if I may.
You sure can, Steve.
Thank you. One, I want to apologize to the public and the board because I did lose my cool when we were discussing item number 9, returns to the attorney. And the only thing I'd like to say is it shouldn't have happened. So again, you have my sincere apologies. It will not happen again. On secondary to that, Anne, as you're the supervisor, you have the responsibility of running the meeting, and I would respectfully request that we get into Robert's Rules of Order. The discussion among board members are for board members. Mr. Friel is a contracted official. He was not recognized by you during this discussion, and he kept interjecting. And I lost my cool over it, and I'm sorry. So I'd like to see us run this in a purely professional manner where the chair, which is Ann, has to recognize each board member to be to allow to have the floor, and that board member is allowed to speak until the person has made his point. And if you choose or recognize somebody else, that's fine. At this point, it was not done that way.
That wasn't you.
No problem. And the second thing, when we got to the vote from Josh's motion, we need to be very careful because as Mr. Cummings was making up his mind, both Ann and Jamie telegraphed and stated how they were going to vote. And I think that's very incorrect and illegal until you're actually called upon to vote. So those are my comments on that. Again, my apologies. Number 2, I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and I hope they have a happy holiday season. I know in my family, we've had a lot of things that happened this year that were very traumatic, and we're going to take the time as a family to really enjoy the holidays and remember people of the past. So with that, I
Wonderful.
wish everybody in Oscoda Township and the board a sincere Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Steve, anybody else? Board members?
I'll go next.
Okay,
First, in regards to what Steve said, it was definitely not my intent to sway votes or whatever. I just was stating a fact that I was shocked and uninformed as well. So I didn't mean it, and I apologize for that also. Also, when I voted no in regards to Ani going to be for the auction, it wasn't for the auction process in the motion. It was just for Josh to sign the document alone. And so that's the reason that I voted no for that. Nothing against Josh, but I just think that there should be 2 signatures. And now with the other vote that we passed, including the superintendent, hopefully that'll be taken care of. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy holiday season, and hope they take the time to enjoy their families and their loved ones. Life's too short. Merry Christmas.
thank you, Jamie. Any other board members?
Yes, I do have a comment. I just wanted to say that, yes, tonight's meeting was, I think, unusual in a couple ways, and I think we've addressed them. And I think in general, I think that there is just so much animosity, so much anger, so much adrenaline going on, not just within social media, but even, you know, even here, sometimes amongst ourselves and sometimes during our own public comments. And, you know, I don't understand that level of bravado. It's to your point, Ann, earlier, just moments ago, it's out of control. And I support you, as I said then, in putting your foot down and not letting it come into this area. It has nothing to do with Open Meetings Act at this point. It has to do with a decorum and people losing their composure does not lend itself to any kind of a constructive comment. So anyway, thank you very much, Ann. And again, as everyone has said, I really wish everyone, including those on the public comment and the community, thank you for your support. Thank you very much for attending these calls. Wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thanks, Tim. Josh or Jeremy or Bill, anything?
I would just like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody in the community and my fellow board members.
I as well. Merry Christmas! See you all next year.
Bill? Mr. Palmer? Did we lose Bill?
Somehow I got muted. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I
I didn't do it, I don't think.
No, I don't think I don't know what happened. I was making
Okay.
a nice long speech here and you weren't responding. No, I just wanted to wish all the board a Merry Christmas and all the residents of Oscoda and everyone a Merry Christmas and a very happy New Year. Hopefully, hopefully we can get back to in-person meetings and make life a little bit simpler for all of us here. I know, and running the meeting this way is not optimum. It's a chore trying to run these electronic meetings. So if we can get back to in-person meetings, maybe things will be a little smoother. The only question I have, I posed a question last time about, would we be able to have our in-public meeting tonight? And Jeremy informed us that no, they wouldn't have the furnace installed, but after this discussion about the contracts and things, since we don't have another meeting, do we have a contingency plan if something happens and we're not able to get in Shoreline for our first meeting in January? It just occurred to me a few minutes ago. I was listening to the comments relating to that. So anyway,
Yeah, I guess just a quick answer. I believe the contract's all set now. Bill, it's my understanding from what Tammy said that we're all good to go. We're just waiting on them to sign and then we'll be signing. So we should be fine for January.
okay, good. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Okay, thanks. I guess just a couple things. The reason, I mean, when we were asked to go to vote, I actually wanted more discussion, but it was brought up to bring a vote in regard to Mr. Sutton's motion and the support. So it was inappropriate, I guess. Sorry, sorry about that. It was inappropriate for me to indicate where I was going, and I apologize for that, but I had wanted to have further discussion. And my discussion is that I don't like to make decisions on the fly. I want to know, I don't want to use the word ambushing. I'm hopeful that that's not anybody on this board's intent to ambush. That being said, I think that if we do not have information in the packet indicating what it is that we're going to be talking about, our protocol manual indicates we shouldn't be talking about it. I think it's extremely important to have that information so that everybody is prepared. That's just my thought. And I guess in regard to the public comment and not allowing somebody to speak, it was inappropriate in my call. And so I did put that person in the waiting room, and I take full responsibility for that. And I would do it again in a heartbeat if those words were used again in this type of forum. Also, just want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and hold your family members tight, love them well, and enjoy the community, the beautiful community that we live in, because it is a beautiful community with some amazing people in it. So thank you very much to everybody, and have a great night. And we will see you technically, I guess, on the 21st briefly, where we'll be going in for a special meeting, but otherwise we will see you in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you.
You need a motion to adjourn?
Bye, everyone.
Oh yeah, I need that.
Okay, I'll move to adjourn. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
So moved.
Merry Christmas.